Hey guys, Mr. V here, and I'm bringing you some first impressions of the Battlefield 4 exclusive multiplayer beta. If you are a Medal of Honor Warfighter Special or Limited Edition owner, or if you have pre-ordered the Digital Deluxe Edition of Battlefield 4, or if you are a Battlefield 3 Premium member, you have access to the Battlefield 4 beta, the exclusive beta, which launched October 1st, on either the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, or PC, depending on what your privileges are tied to. So the cool thing is that on October 4th, the public will be able to join us, so that's anybody and everybody on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, or PC. You guys will be able to get your hands on the beta by simply downloading on Origin, the PSN, or the Xbox Marketplace. So in case you can't tell, I am playing the Battlefield 4 beta on the Xbox 360. That is the footage you are watching. So no, it's not the most beautiful Battlefield footage you will ever see. But man, does it ever run smooth, especially for a beta, let alone the first day of a beta, which is the footage you are seeing today. Some other staff have also reported that it's quite smooth on the PlayStation 3. I've heard the PC version is running into a couple lag issues, but of course the PC version is regardless the way to go. You're going to get the best visuals, and you're going to really see or get a good indication of what Battlefield 4 is going to look like on the PC and on the next generation consoles like the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Now, of course, DICE has said it over and over again, but the visuals you're seeing across all platforms are not indicative of the representation you will see in the final product. It's been confirmed that the PC version will have a couple extra graphical options that you'll be able to play around with. And of course, for the consoles, the current generation consoles, just like Battlefield 3, I can guarantee you that the game will ship with high resolution texture packs. So right now, you're probably seeing some pretty, at least in my opinion, very blurry visuals, muddy textures, but I'm quite certain that that is going to be cleaned up by the final release for the current generation consoles. So graphical issues aside, let's get into some of my first impressions of the Battlefield 4 beta. So right away you're presented with a brand new menu, and I can definitely see some major improvements here. The menus are very snappy. They've gotten rid of that slight blur that would take like almost an extra second to switch between pages between menus. So now things are really snappy. If you select something, it pops up right away. And of course, it just looks very clean. So, and this of course carries over into the game when you're in your loadout menu and loadout screen. It looks really good. It's snappy. It's much more intuitive, organized. Overall, there has been a major improvement in the menu and user interface for Battlefield 4. So I personally can't really think of any improvements they would need to make for the UI design. Now, of course, what we have access to is very limited, so that includes equipment and weapons in your loadout menus, as well as a couple of options. I know, for example, that there will be a slider that you'll be able to adjust to improve your latency issues. But yeah, unlike the Battlefield 3 beta, we only have access to roughly 2 weapons per weapon class, and not a whole lot of unlocks for the weapons. There are attachments that you can unlock just by simply ranking up. There are also the battle packs that you'll notice that I haven't got there yet, but I think you can unlock them in the beta. I'm not actually sure. I haven't gotten that far yet. But they hold some extra attachments, some of which I'm really excited to try, like the green laser sight and a couple of different scopes, I think. But in a way, I kind of think that's a good thing, because then you really only have a couple of variables to play around with. Meanwhile, you can sort of get a feel for the game in general, like how it plays, how your character moves. It is hard to get a feel for weapon balance, however, because we only have a few weapons to play around with. From the reports I'm hearing so far, and I'll agree, I'm not sure if it's actually the case or if it's just an issue with hit detection, but it seems like on weapons, especially like the assault rifles, that damage or bullet damage is actually quite high. And so a lot of people are noticing, and in my case too, that you feel like you're dying in 1 or 2 bullets. And again, I'm not sure if that is just the hit detection not really telling you what's going on properly, or if that's actually the case, if the assault rifles are really that powerful. In my time with the beta so far, I've pretty much exclusively stuck to the recon class because I really want to get a feel for some of the new improvements or changes made to the recon class. So that includes sniping. Sniping is very different. I can't quite point my finger or put my finger on what is different about sniping. In some senses, it feels better, and of course you can now zero in on your target using the range indicator. Many of you have noticed the bullet trail that the bullet leaves behind now. Some of you like it, some of you hate it. I personally don't mind it, but I do find it a bit misleading. Sometimes I'm positive a bullet went somewhere, but the bullet trail seems to indicate that it went somewhere else. So, and that kind of brings me to the velocity of the bullet. I feel like I can't tell if it's faster or slower. To me, it feels a little bit slower, and it's really hard to lead targets. I also feel that maybe the hitboxes are a little smaller, so it's a little more picky now. If you want to get a headshot, you really have to get a headshot. It's got to be dead on. I hoped that they wouldn't have nerfed the bolt-action rifles because I felt they just got them perfect in Battlefield 3 after the last couple of patches when they added that upper chest hitbox that allowed recons to one-hit kill in the upper chest or head at close range. I know you can definitely do that in Battlefield 4 so far because I've gotten a couple really lucky shots at very close range with the bolt action and got them in the body somewhere, and it gave me that kill. But even if it is ever so slightly harder to snipe in Battlefield 4, that's okay because they did give us C4 and the motion balls, which are awesome. DICE wanted to keep gameplay in Battlefield 4 very mobile, and you can especially tell that they have accomplished that with the recon class. For example, the MAV and the SOFLAM in Battlefield 3, both of those gadgets were items that required you to stay still in one spot, and you had to sacrifice actually playing the game in order to use those gadgets. So now you sort of have like a portable SOFLAM device that you actually just pull up to your eye, and you can kind of lock onto vehicles with it, as well as highlight enemies with the infrared vision. And of course, instead of having to place a T-UGS down, you can now throw your motion ball into the direction that you'll be running, so you'll kind of go in there knowing ahead of time where the enemy might be located. It doesn't last very long, I've noticed, but that's okay. I think it lasts just a perfect amount, just enough to give you an idea of where the enemy might be. Of course, C4 is great. It just simply makes the recon class feel a lot more useful because it wasn't that useful in Battlefield 3. It could be, but it really required communication and teamwork, and that sometimes just doesn't pan out in pub games. So those are my thoughts on the recon kit, which is really the only kit I've played around with so far. I'd love to hear from you guys though. What are some of your favorite improvements or tweaks that have been made to your favorite kits? So definitely let me know in the comments. So going back to just some of my more general impressions, general gameplay impressions, one thing I really like is that, and this also ties back to UI, is that the kill notifications are much quicker now. They appear instantaneously, they're very snappy, and that along with the capture indicators are no longer in your way. They all leave the center of your screen nice and clear and open. So they've generally improved the intel that the game feeds you while on the battlefield. And that even includes directional callouts now. So soldiers in-game, not the actual player talking through a microphone, but in-game, the soldiers will now call out the directions of the enemy, so you kind of know where to look. They're not just gonna call out, "F me, sniper! Oh my god." And they'll say, sniper just north of your location. So you sort of know where to look. A huge change everybody is talking about are the control schemes. They're different, obviously. Um, I am actually, when I played Battlefield 3, I switched my controls to, I think they're called alternative for most of the vehicles. So, for example, flying choppers is exactly how it was in Battlefield 3 for me, so I love it. Um, they also fly amazing, right? They're so tight the way they maneuver. I am pretty sure that's actually going to get nerfed because they're so easy to fly now. Um, the way you control vehicles is very different. Of course, you now move them with the left thumbstick instead of using one of the triggers to hit the gas or accelerate. And to me, I don't care so much about the vehicle controls. I just always want my right trigger to be fire. So, and that's why I changed it in Battlefield 3, because I always wanted my right trigger to be the fire button, not the acceleration button. So the fact that they moved it to the left thumbstick, that's cool with me. I also don't mind the new Camaro system on the controller. I think it's the only way that they were able to sort of integrate it into the game. And let's face it too, like pushing the select button to spot something wasn't ideal. Like you'd have to take your thumb off the left thumbstick in order to do it. Now you can sort of do it while running. And of course, the options are much greater. You can call for first aid, call for ammunition, or just say thanks or apologize using the right bumper on the Xbox 360 controller. And I've gotten used to it pretty quickly. At first, I was like, WTF, but I got used to it very quickly, and now I really like it. I did switch my soldier control scheme to veteran so that my right thumbstick is crouch and B is the melee button. The cool thing is because I have a scuff controller, my rightmost paddle is set to B, so it's really easy still to knife and to counter knife, and you'll see that a couple times in this gameplay. I got 2 in one game, felt pretty badass, but I'm assuming it'll be a little harder to do with just a regular Xbox One controller, which is probably what I'll be playing Battlefield 4 on. If you've read any of my Battlelog forum posts, you'll know that I have strong feelings against roof campers and DICE's obsession with this sort of rooftop gameplay that they're sort of encouraging in their smaller maps like Conquest Domination, which is what I'm mostly playing on the Xbox 360, and that's obviously just because Conquest doesn't really work well with the smaller player count on current generation consoles. So I'm enjoying Domination just because it's a smaller map, you run into action more. But gosh darn it, these roofs and these elevators that go to the roofs, they're like death traps. I think they need to do something to fix it, and something to deter people from wanting to just camp on a roof all day. When you're on the ground and you have ground enemies plus the objective, it's just annoying to have to deal with roof campers. You don't want to do it. I know you could easily go up there using some of the ladders, but you don't want to waste your time doing that. So, that's not as big a deal in Conquest because there's plenty of ways to get to the roof, and you got your chopper. But I just hope that in the Domination or TDM maps that they don't stick these buildings with roofs that are accessible to everybody with only one elevator going up to the roof, because it's just plain distracting. So, I think that's kind of a permanent design choice. I don't think it's something that will change from the beta to the final version, but that's definitely something that irks me about Battlefield 4, or at least this Siege of Shanghai map that we're playing on in Domination. I've also noticed, and I can tell because I'm playing with Astro A50s, so I mean my sound quality is great, but I've noticed that the sound design seems a little bassless, if you know what I mean. Explosions are more crackly, and they lack that sort of bass that they used to in Battlefield 3 and of course Bad Company 2. Like Bad Company 2 was over the top when it came to explosions and gunfire, right? It was cool because it was immersive, but it was also, I don't know, they tried to clean that up with Battlefield 3, make things a little more crisp and clear, but they still kept, the bassy explosions and the good gun sounds. I feel like in the beta so far, they're a little too crackly and they sound a little bit more muffled. You know, and it's something that I was easily able to notice with the headset. So I'm not sure what the deal with that is. Again, that's kind of seems like a design choice, and not really something that will change. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Did you notice the sound design is somehow different, for better or worse? I'm not sure. So to sort of conclude, the Battlefield 4 beta so far leaves me with the impression that I definitely don't want to play this on the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, but it does give me some high hopes for what will come of it for the PC version, the Xbox One version, and the PlayStation 4 version. You know, on that type of hardware, we don't have to really worry about visual fidelity. It's going to be good, if not good enough. And the improvements that they've made to the gameplay in general are definitely apparent. Things like, you know, the amount of recoil weapons have, or just the gunplay in general, I'm not even going to comment on that just because it's going to change for sure. And of course, we only have a couple weapons to play around with. But do get rid of the insta-deaths. Nobody likes that. I'm pretty sure we can all agree. So there are a few other things I could get into, but those are things that I would prefer to save for like a review of Battlefield 4, because they're general gameplay differences from, say, Battlefield 3, and maybe not things that are important to talk about in a beta. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. Definitely let me know how you're enjoying it, or if you're not enjoying it and just think it's a piece of crap, that's fine too. You can say that. And we'll see the rest of you guys, the public, on October 4th, when you'll have access to the beta as well. And of course, you'll be able to pick up Battlefield 4 on October 29th on the PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. November 12th for the PlayStation 4, and November 19th for the Xbox One. Strange dates that kind of come out a little bit before the consoles come out. Not sure why. But there you have it. So let's get some Battlefield 4 beta discussions going in the comments. We've already had some really good discussions going in some of the latest beta-related articles on the website. So let's continue that here, because we're definitely, I think we're talking about some cool things. And of course, leave your feedback, your important, valuable feedback on the Battlelog forums. So DICE will hear your voice and make sure that they put elevator music in the elevators.
Okay, we've lost control of objective Alpha. This is objective. I want you to attack.